Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the topic, you send us the sources, and we dive in to pull at the signal, what really matters, nice and clear.
And today, we're jumping into Solana. That's SOL for the ticker. We're looking at where things stand as of May 2025. One of you wanted a really solid update on its current state and maybe what's coming next.
And you definitely gave us plenty to work with, a really good mix of sources: Binance Square, Coin Edition, Blockchain.news, the Crypto Basic, Coin Stages, the Cryptonomist. A bit of everything.
Yeah, market stuff, price guesses, the tech analysis, what developers are up to, even how new laws might shake things out.
So our mission, as always, is to sift through all that, find the most important bits about Solana right now, and help you understand why it matters.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Right. First things first, market performance. How's Solana doing? Early May numbers showed $2.1 billion traded in 24 hours.
Which, isn't Ethereum level trading that was more like $12.4 billion, but $2.1 billion is still pretty significant, Shows a lot of activity.
And the activity on decentralized exchanges, the DEXs, that was notable too?
Oh, definitely. Solana's DEX volume, a whopping 33% higher than competitors over the past 3 months. That's huge.
33%, wow.
And get this, 400% more transactions. 400%, plus 180% more active addresses.
Okay, so that's not just bots trading back and forth. That sounds like real usage.
It points that way, yeah. A very active user base, especially with the decentralized apps and, let's be honest, a lot of meme coin trading driving volume. But that level of on-chain activity, even the speculative stuff, shows people are using the network, suggests it's sticky.
Makes sense. What about the actual price? SOL's price?
Been moving quite a bit. Around May 3rd, it was $146.32 on Binance. Fast forward to mid-May, say the 16th, reports had it up around $173.
And the predictions, I saw some pretty optimistic ones.
Yeah, there's definitely bullish sentiment out there. One analyst suggested maybe a 100% jump just in May, aiming for $200.
100% in 1 month.
I know. And then you see these really aggressive calls like $1,000 by the end of 2025.
Okay, $1,000 is ambitious.
Sorry, it's important to balance those, right? There are more, let's say, measured views too. Mushtaq Brohi, for example, he outlined targets like $180 to $191.
But with conditions.
Exactly. That was if it holds support around $159.67. He was using Elliott wave theory.
Yeah.
Talking about maybe finishing a wave 5 pattern. So more technical.
Right. And Coin Edition, around the 16th, they noted it trading near $173 after a dip. They talked about a specific pattern.
The cup and handle. Yeah, classic chart pattern. Looks like a teacup.
Right. And they said the breakout from that on the 4-hour chart kicked off a rally.
That's what they reported, yeah. From about $145 up past $180. So you see how these technical signals can sometimes precede moves.
Interesting. And the day before that, flash news detail.
They had SOL at $148.32, up over 7% in a day. And trading volume spiked too, up 35% to $2.8 billion. So lots of action, lots of interest driving that move.
Then the Crypto Basic, also May 16th, had it at $172. Smaller gain, 1.75%, but they were looking higher.
Much higher, actually. They mentioned a target of $262 based on a rounding bottom pattern, and they flagged 183, a Fibonacci level, as a key resistance, like a neckline it needs to break.
Okay, lots of patterns being discussed. And the Cryptonomist.
Similar story on the 16th, up about 1.9%, trading between like $167 and $175. They stressed the 37% gain over the whole month, and also confirmed that cup and handle pattern finished back in mid-April.
So the overall picture seems positive price-wise, but the targets are kind of all over the place.
Pretty much upward trend, good volume, general optimism, but yeah, short-term and long-term guesses vary quite a bit.
Okay, so let's stick with the technicals for a minute. Brohi mentioned that wave 5 diagonal pattern, specific support levels. It's always fascinating how technical analysts try to map these things out.
It is, and Coin Edition gave even more detail, right? They mentioned the cup and handle breakout, then a retest of support like you often see, around $167, $170.
And other indicators,
Yeah.
RSI, MACD.
Yeah, the RSI, that's the relative strength index, was at 57.49 on the 4-hour chart. Sort of neutral to bullish, not extreme either way, but they saw a bullish MACD crossover on the 30-minute chart.
MACD, moving average convergence divergence, that's usually seen as a buy signal, right, when it crosses bullishly?
Often, yeah, it suggests upward momentum might be building or continuing. They also mentioned Bollinger Bands widening, which can signal more volatility coming, and they laid out specific resistance zones where selling might step in and support zones where buyers might appear.
And Flash News Detail noted the RSI was getting a bit high, near overbought.
Yeah, on the 4-hour chart, it was up at 68. So getting close to that 70 level often seen as overbought. But importantly, the MACD was still bullish, and volume on the SLO-SDT pair was strong, $1.2 billion. Yeah. USDT being the Tether stablecoin, of course.
Right. So strong buying, even if it looked a little stretched short term.
Seems that way. The crypto basic added more context, too. Rising RSI and the moving averages, the 50-day and 100-day EMAs, were getting close to a bullish crossover. Another positive sign.
But they had a warning, too.
They did. A crucial one. If the price broke below the 200-day EMA, that could trigger a drop towards $150. So a key level to watch on the downside.
And they mentioned another analyst, Ellie Martinez.
Yes, Martinez apparently spotted a larger cup and handle, but on the weekly chart, resistance near $200. And he suggested if that breaks, you could see a really sharp parabolic move upwards. Longer time frame, bigger potential impact.
Weekly chart, so that's a much bigger picture view. And the cryptonomist, any other technical signals?
They also saw the cup and handle completed on the daily chart, and they highlighted a golden cross.
Ah, the golden cross. That's when the shorter term moving average crosses above the longer term one.
Exactly. In this case, the 50-day crossed above the 200-day, back when prices were around $145 and $129 respectively. Generally seen as a strong bullish signal for the longer trend.
And they gave specific levels too.
Yep. Short-term resistance, around $184. Primary support zone, $161 down to maybe $150. So again, fairly consistent picture. Technicals look mostly positive across different time frames, pointing upwards, but keep an eye on those support levels. They need to hold.
Okay, so the charts are generally looking constructive, but what about the actual Solana network, the ecosystem? What's happening there?
Right, this is key. The sources really paint a picture of an ecosystem that's actively being built out, that high DEX volume we talked about. A lot of that is driven by meme coins, sure, but it shows Solana's speed and low fees are attracting real activity.
But it's more than just meme coins, right? You mentioned a hackathon with CoinW.
Yeah, that sounded strategic. A deliberate move to expand Solana's reach globally, connect with more developers, get more projects building on Solana.
That's smart.
And they're not just sticking to DeFi and NFTs. They're looking into things like using Solana for AI computing, diversifying, trying to find new use cases for their tech.
That ties into what Binance Square was saying, that AI, GameFi, Layer 2s, those look promising for 2025. Is Solana playing in those spaces?
Oh, absolutely. CoinStages went deep on this. They said developer activity on Solana is really picking up. Sometimes daily active users on Solana have even beaten Ethereum's mainnet.
Really? More active users than Ethereum at times.
That's what they reported. Pretty significant. And they named specific projects gaining traction: Drift Protocol V2, Zeta Markets, various GameFi things. Plus, Solana Mobile 2.0 is trying to specifically bring in developers building mobile Web3 apps.
Tapping into the mobile market makes sense.
Yeah, playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
Speed, low fees, that single global state thing, which apparently makes building complex apps easier. And the Anchor framework is helping pull in developers from the traditional Web2 world.
And the hackathons seem to be working.
Looks like it. The one in April 2025 apparently had over 900 teams. That's a lot of developer interest. Shows a vibrant community building stuff, not just trading tokens.
Okay, so real development, growing user base. It's not just hype.
That's the picture these sources paint, yeah. Metrics like GitHub activity, hackathon participation, they suggest genuine ecosystem growth beyond just the price charts.
All right, so brace up, tech looking good, development buzzing. What's the overall vibe? The market sentiment. What are analysts feeling about Solana's prospects?
Generally, pretty positive, I'd say. Most analysts seem to think there's potential for good returns in 2025. Some forecasts put the average price somewhere around like $188, though there's a wide range of possibilities discussed.
And that $1,000 prediction still seems like an outlier.
Definitely the high end. More cautious estimates see $1,000 maybe closer to $20-30, and that depends heavily on Solana continuing to develop smoothly and gain adoption. It's not a guaranteed thing, you know.
Of course. What about actual trader sentiment? The Crypto Basic had something on that.
Yeah, on Binance, apparently 70% of traders were expecting a breakout rally for SOL. That's a strong majority feeling bullish.
70% is high.
It is. And they mentioned the long to short ratio is 2.38, meaning significantly more traders were betting on the price going up rather than down, at least on that exchange.
Interesting snapshot. And the cryptonomist links sentiment to U.S. regulation.
They did. They said sentiment got a boost after something called the Genius Act passed the U.S. House, and they pointed to a bunch of potential good news coming up for Solana.
Like what?
Okay, so Firedancer. That's a new validator client meant to massively increase network speed, over 1 million transactions per second, expected later in 2025.
1 million TPS.
Huge number, right. Also, a new consensus scheme to double block space in 2025. And then the big one, maybe. Potential approval for a Solana spot ETF. They estimated a high chance of that happening by October 2025.
An ETF, that would be major, like it was for Bitcoin.
Exactly. Huge potential for institutional inflow. And they noted the Genius Act was heading to the Senate in June 2025. So put all that together, the tech upgrades, the potential ETF, maybe regulatory clarity from the Genius Act, plus ongoing defined coin interest.
And they think that could push the price.
Yeah, they were forecasting to break above $200 soon, potentially hitting $230 to $250 if the Genius Act passes and the market stays hot. That ETF possibility is definitely one to watch closely.
Okay, so the Genius Act keeps coming up. Let's talk about the U.S. legislative picture more broadly. What's happening there?
It seems like the general direction in the U.S. is slowly moving towards clearer rules for crypto, which the industry has wanted for ages.
Right, like FIT21.
Exactly. The 21st Century Financial Innovation and Technology Act, FIT21, passed the House back in May 2024. That's a big attempt to create a proper federal regulatory system for digital assets.
And wasn't there an executive order mentioned too?
Correct. March 2025. An order about putting seized Bitcoin into a strategic Bitcoin reserve, an SBR, and also creating reserves for other digital assets. And importantly, it seemed to protect the right to actually use. That's right. It aims to clarify rules around issuing stablecoins, like USDC or USDT, but specifically payment stablecoins. It narrowly failed a Senate vote in May 2025, but the expectation was for another vote soon after May 12th.
And why is this Genius Act so important for Solana, according to the cryptonomist?
Because if it passes, it could provide regulatory certainty around stablecoins. That clarity could make Solana's own stablecoins, they're called SPL stablecoins, much more attractive to big institutions. They generally crave clear rules before they jump in.
Got it. So clearer rules could mean more institutional money potentially flowing into Solana's ecosystem via stablecoins.
That's thinking, yes. While nothing's passed the Senate yet, the trend seems to be towards defining the space, which could ultimately be positive for established projects like Solana.
Okay, one last piece. How does Solana move relative to, say, the stock market? Is there a connection?
Flash News Detail pointed this out. They saw a positive correlation. When tech stocks do well, Solana tends to do well too.
Oh, interesting. Like when the NASDAQ goes up.
Exactly. They gave an example. May 14th, 2025, NASDAQ was up 1.3%, S&P 500 up 0.9%, and SOL saw positive movement too. The idea is that positive sentiment in tech might spill over. Maybe institutional money takes profit from tech stocks and rotates some into altcoins like Solana.
A risk-on kind of flow?
Could be part of it. But there's another key correlation the cryptonomist mentioned, which is its correlation with Bitcoin. It's strong. They estimated Solana's beta at about 1.4 relative to Bitcoin.
Beta 1.4, meaning it's more volatile than Bitcoin.
Yeah, about 40% more volatile based on that number.
Yeah.
So if Bitcoin takes a big hit due to some macro shock or market downturn, Solana is likely to fall even harder.
So it benefits when tech and Bitcoin are up, but it's also more vulnerable when they're down.
That's the double-edged sword of high beta and positive correlation, yes. It amplifies the moves in both directions.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. Pulling it all together for you. Solana in May 2025 looks like it's got significant momentum. We're seeing growth potential, positive market feelings, driven by real tech developments, better adoption numbers in areas like DeFi and mobile, and generally supportive market conditions.
Yeah, it's a real mix, isn't it? You've got the technical chart pattern suggesting more upside. You have analysts ranging from optimistic to wildly bullish. And then these bigger factors like potential regulation changes in the US, that possible ETF, and how it moves with stocks, and of course, Bitcoin.
So lots of moving parts influencing Solana's trajectory right now.
Definitely. Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. With everything going on, the ecosystem growth, the focus on speed, the regulatory shifts, how might Solana's position change long-term compared to, say, Ethereum? Could its focus on specific things like speed, low fees, and maybe mobile really carve out a distinct dominant niche and change how we think about using blockchain?
Something to keep watching. That's our deep dive on Solana for today.